Welcome to the Design of Concrete Structure course. So this is our lecture number 7. So if you recall, last class we have discussed about we have started actually the beam design. We have discussed about different assumptions, and we are extensively using limit state of method for our design philosophy. And we have discussed the 6 major assumptions we will take to design the beam. So we have seen beams may be of different size and shape. It may be of rectangular, or it may be square, circular, T-beam, L-beam, all different types of beams we have discussed in details in the last class. And again, in each category of beam, there are can be classified into singly reinforced beam and the doubly reinforced beam. So which one is singly reinforced beam? Singly reinforced beam is if the reinforcement is provided only at the one side of the only at the top, only the top side, only at the bottom side of the section, then we call it the singly reinforced section. And if the reinforcement is provided at the top end, then we call it is a both end, then we call it the doubly reinforced section. So in this lecture, or maybe in this module, basically we'll be discussing about how to design the singly reinforced rectangular sections. So in this class, lecture number 7, we'll be deriving the equations for analysis and the design of the singly reinforced structures. Okay. So this is the same figure which we discussed in the lecture number 6. So basically this is a beam, and this is beam is simply supported into two supports. So this beam is simply resting in this support and this support. Two supports are there, and two loads are connected. So this is we are considering for deriving our equation. We are considering a very simple case. Okay. So simply supported beam and two concentrated forces acting P and P at a distance of L by 3, L by 3, L by 3 from the support. Okay. So this is our actual beam we are considering. So once we know the beam, now our first job will be to draw the bending moment and shear force diagram of this beam. So whatever it may be, the given beam. So let's draw it quickly. So the bending moment diagram of this beam will be, how it will be, any idea? So it will be uh, something like that up to a point, then it will be straight, and then again it will go something like that. So this is the bending moment diagram of this beam. So this is nothing but BMD, and then you have SFD. So shear force diagram, how it will be? Shear force diagram of this beam is it will be here, then straight, down, and then again here, down, something like that. So this is the SFD, shear force diagram. Okay, for this beam. So now you can notice one important thing here, that the bending moment is maximum at the center of the span. Okay, and bending moment is minimum near to the support. So as this is a fixed that simply supported beam, that means that's why the moment is zero here. Fixed and moment is zero. But in reality, maximum beams are actually fixed beam. In that case, the bending moment won't be zero, but it will be negative near to the support, or at the support, bending moment will be negative. It will go up. Okay. Similarly, if you see shear force, so shear force is zero at the middle of the span. So this is the middle, right? Middle of the span. Shear force is zero. You can see shear force is maximum near to the support, or on the support shear force is maximum. So that is the shear force and bending moment diagram of this beam. Now let's discuss about the next part, that is how to design. So for designing purpose, let me erase this. Okay. Yeah. So now for the design purpose, so now we understood shear force and bending moment diagram. So now will take, so beam design will be different for the middle section. Beam design will be different for the support section, because the bending moment is not uniform across the beam. Bending moment is maximum in the middle portion, whereas bending moment is minimum, or actually negative in the support if it is a fixed and support. Okay, so the design of beam also won't be uniform across the section. So we have to design a beam only for middle portion, and then again we have to design it for the support section. Okay. So now if you see, this is the rectangular beam cross section. We're at the middle we are considering now. Let's considering at the middle section. Okay. So middle section will be something like that. So it's a singly reinforcement. That's why the reinforcement is at the one end only, on the bottom end. Why it is bottom end? Because we considered it middle section, right? Middle section means how the beam will bend. The beam deflection will be happening something like that, right? After application of the load, beam will bend something like that. Okay. So this is the deflection of the beam. That means the top fiber is subjected to compression, whereas bottom fiber is subjected to tension, right? So for tension, we need to provide the reinforcement. So that's why we provided reinforcement at the bottom, not at the top, because top anyway compression forces are there. So compression force, concrete can take it. Concrete is very good in taking compression force. So there is no need to provide reinforcement at the top. But whereas bottom, the tension stresses will be generated, right? Bottom fiber, if you look into here, it is stretching, right? So the tension for taking care of the tension stresses, we provide the reinforcement at the bottom. So now this is the section, simple section at AA. AA means middle section, okay? And this one we discussed in the last class also. This is our strain diagram, okay? Strain diagram of a concrete. So that also we got it from the IS 456. So if you recall IS 456, how the stress strain diagram will be for the concrete. So you have, this is the strain axis epsilon, and this is the stress axis sigma. So normally the stress strain diagram will be something like that. Okay, this is constant part, and somewhere it got collapsed. Okay, so this maximum collapse strain is, as per IS code, it is 0.0035. Okay, so when the strain reaches to 0.0035 value, the material or the concrete column or beam will be collapsing. That is our as per IS code. And what about this value? So this value is nothing but no, okay, this is what, Fy, right? Not Fy, FCK. So for steel it is Fy, and for concrete it is FCK. So if you so FCK is the characteristic compressive strength we discussed, right? So this value will be, FCK is actually the stress characteristic compressive strength, and this should be divided by 1.5. Okay, two times actually we have to divide it. Why? Because let me take it here. Eraser. Erase it quickly. Okay, so now FCK, you have to divide it by 1.5. Why 1.5? Because that our code said that how we derived that FCK value, characteristic strength of a concrete. So basically we made a concrete cube, right? We discussed in detail. So concrete cube of 15 centimeter cube, we are constructing small cubes, multiple cubes, and then in the compression testing machine, basically we apply the compression test, right, in the cube, and we find it out what is the stress. So that we call it FCK, right? So this is actually a small section, right? Small cube, but 15 centimeter height, 15 centimeter width. But in general, if you see the beams and columns, these are very slender, means very long, right? So when the material gets longer and longer, what will happen? The strength also reduces. That is, Saint Venant's principle is there. Like if you can relate it, like if you take a chalk. Chalk means where we write blackboard, right? In a blackboard, normally we used to write in using chalk, right? So now you apply a compression force on a chalk. Okay, so let me draw it here. Just consider it. This is a chalk, blackboard chalk, where we used to write, right, in the blackboard. Now with your fingertip you press the compressing force in this chalk. This is full length chalk. Okay, so you will get maybe something. For example, the strength of this block is maybe 10, some unit, and you can give it is 10. That up to 10, it the chalk load has taken. After that, chalk got breaked into two parts. Now chalk has broken now in two parts, because we applied the compression force, and the maximum strength it received is 10. Okay, now take the half portion. Now take only the top part. Now the chalk is broken into two parts, right? Now you take the half part and you apply the compression force. Means you, by the fingertip, you apply the compression force in the half portion of the chalk. Now if you see, the strength will be increased. Now it will be, for example, this is, it will be 15. Although this is just a random number I am giving, but in general you will find that the strength is increasing if the length is half. Again, if you make it half length and again you apply the compression force, you will see maybe 20. Strength is increasing, right? That's what we call it size effect. Okay, so when the size is very long, in that case the strength also reduces. But if you reduce the size and you apply the force, it will take more load. Okay, so that we call it size effect. So similarly here also, the concrete FCK, that characteristic strength of a concrete, how we calculated? Actually we made this 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter cube, concrete cube, in a lab, and maybe 1,000 cubes we making, and we perform it compression in the compression testing machine, how much strength it gives. Okay, So this is 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter cube. So you can imagine it is a very small cube, right? So with this small cube, you are getting the FCK value. But in reality, all the structures, if you see the beams and columns, these are very long columns, right? So whatever 50 centimeter by 50 centimeter cube, whatever strength you get it, that is very much overestimated, right? Because as you understood from the chalk also, so the long chalk, the strength was less, but when you make it half, the strength is increased, right? That's why 50 centimeter 50 centimeter cube, that FCK value will be in a higher value it will give. So we have to reduce this value to use in our practical purpose. That we call it size effect. That's why FCK value, whatever you get it from the laboratory experiment, you divide it by 1.5. 1.5 is the size effect factor. Okay, so that FCK value or that stress value you should take for the design. Now in the last lecture we have discussed 6 assumptions of limit state, right? So in the assumptions we have discussed that the limit state, that partial safety factor for the concrete is 1.5 again. So whatever strength you get it, you would reduce this by 1.5, because to become in a safer side, we reduce the strength of the concrete, right? So that's why, so this first 1.5, whatever we discussed, that is for shape effect, but again, we are dividing it by 1.5. Okay. So FCK by 1.5 into 1.5. So that is the value we get it. So FCK is the total characteristic strength of a concrete. It should be divided by 1.5. So first 1.5 is because of the shape effect, and next 1.5 is the partial safety factor. So now how much you got it? So now you got it FCK by 1.5 into 1.5, which will be nothing but 0.44 FCK. Okay, so which will be nothing but 0.446 FCK. You can compute yourself that FCK by 1.5 into 1.5 in bracket both. Okay, both we are making division. So now FCK is 0.446 FCK. So for design purpose, we won't consider entire FCK. We will consider only 44% of FCK for our design. Okay, to become in a safer side. Okay, so that's why if you see this value also, so this is the stress strain diagram. So we discussed right in the last class also the 6 assumptions of limit state method. So one of the assumption was that concrete will fail when the strain reaches maximum strain reaches 0.0035, that value. So that's why the for collapse, the top portion, if you see, it is 0.0035. Okay, for the maximum strain in concrete, in steel, that also one of the assumptions, sixth assumption is this one. So using this formula we can find it out what is the maximum strain in a concrete, and maximum strain in a steel, and this one is maximum strain in a concrete, which is fixed 0.0035. Okay, so this is the strain diagram. So as it is a tension strain, that's why it is negative, whereas it is a compression strain, we consider it positive. And when you connect it both the lines, where you will find at the middle, that is zero strain. So zero strain is that axis, we call it neutral axis. That's what we discussed in the last class. Okay, so now in the, and this diagram is nothing but a stress diagram. Okay, so concrete stress block. So now concrete, you understood, now this portion is subjected to compression and bottom portion is subjected to, so below neutral axis all the stresses are tension stresses, whereas top of the neutral axis it is a compression stress. Okay, so entire compression stress is taken care by the concrete itself. Okay, so this is the stress diagram of a concrete. So this is the same diagram, IS 456 diagram. You just revise it because see, this axis epsilon, that is strain axis, was here it is horizontal, right? Now you make it vertical because here our strain axis is vertical. So if you just rotate this in 90 degree, then you will get it this diagram, stress diagram. So here you can see where you have the maximum strain is how much, 0.0035, right, corresponding to what is the maximum stress. So maximum stress is 0.446 FCK. So that's what we discussed, right? This is this point, this is 0.446 FCK. So how we got it for 446 FCK? We divided FCK by 1.5 because of size effect, and next 1.5 because of partial safety factor of a concrete. So this is the maximum stress, 0.446 FCK. Okay, and this is the compressive stress block, and at the bottom you have the tension stress block. As I mentioned here, from the strain diagram you can see that below the neutral axis entire area is subjected to tension, whereas top portion of the neutral axis is a compression, right? So this entire tension force is taken care by the steel. So this is one of our assumptions, right? We assume that concrete cannot take any tension force. Entire tension force will be taken care by the steel itself. So that's why all the stresses on a steel will be here, because steel is there in this level. So at this point only you will get the total tension stress or tension force T. So tension force T is how much it is written, 0.87 FyAST. Okay, we'll discuss how we got it, this value. So now this is the stress diagram. Now you understood, right? From here to here it is a parabolic. Okay, and then you have the vertical constant line from here to here. So now total compressive force will be acting at C. So C is the total compression force. So entire compression force is acting in this, is distributed in entire direction, entire surface. Now if you concentrate it, at the CG of this area, the entire compression force will be acting. So compression force will be acting at this point. C is given. Similarly, entire tension force will be acting at the steel level, where steel is there in the same level. If you see, the tension force is there. Okay, now this is the stress diagram. I hope this diagram is very clear, because for next whatever we'll discuss in the slab and column also, we'll be extensively using the same diagram everywhere. Okay, so now you understood this. Now for the equilibrium of forces. So now this is the section, right? Middle section. We considered only middle section. So middle section, so this section also will be in equilibrium. So we already know that we have three equilibrium equations for the two-dimensional spaces. What is this equilibrium equations? That is, all summation of all horizontal forces should be equal to 0. Means all the forces acting in this plane should be equal to 0. So how many horizontal forces are acting? So here see, compression force, horizontal force is acting in this direction, okay, from right to left, whereas tension force is acting from left to right. Okay, so that means all summation of all horizontal forces equal to 0, which gives nothing but T equal to C. Right? C is acting here, T is acting in this direction, opposite direction, right? So that's why T and C should be equal to 0 if our section is in equilibrium. And now equilibrium of shear force. So is there any vertical force acting on this section? No, because we considered middle section, right? Middle section we saw in the shear force diagram. Middle, there is zero shear force, so there is no vertical force acting on this portion. So that's why vertical force, summation of all vertical force equal to 0. Now similarly, equilibrium of all moments, right? That's why we have the three equilibrium of equations. Summation of all horizontal forces equal to 0, summation of all vertical forces equal to 0, and summation of all moments about any particular point should be equal to 0. So summation of all moments should be equal to 0. So these are the three equilibrium of equations we have to satisfy. And these are the few short forms you have to understand, because next time onwards we won't use long form, but as a short form we'll be using. So whenever you see AST is written, capital AST, this is area of tension steel, AST. Okay, A means area, S means steel, suffix S is steel, and T means in tension. Now you understood, right? Steel is used either in tension side or in compression side also. In doubly reinforced section, we will be using steel in the compression side. So that steel we call it compression steel, whereas this steel we call it tension steel. So this steel we denote it, area of the entire steel is AST, A suffix ST, area of tension steel. Similarly, small b is the width of the beam. So this is the width of the beam, small b. C is total compression force. Total compression force acting on a beam. So this is the entire area of this stress block C. You can see this is, we call it total compressive area. What is D? D is the effective depth of the beam. What is effective depth? So now you understood, it is a rectangular beam, right? The width is B, small b, depth is capital D. But always we keep some space at the bottom. Here you can see small space is there, right? Beam's line is at the bottom, but reinforcement is provided in little distance from the side. Why? Because if the steel are exposed to the environment, what will happen? It becomes corroded. After few days, steel will corrode, and ultimately the strength of the steel will reduce. That's why it is always recommended to keep the steel bar always embedded on a concrete, so that we can avoid the corrosion also. So this portion that is in distance from the steel to the edge of the beam, we call it clear cover. Okay, we keep some space at the bottom here in this portion, and this space we call it clear cover. Okay, so this capital D is entire depth, but small t is from top to up to the steel level, that is we call it D, small d. And this depth also call it effective depth of the beam. So capital D is overall depth of the beam, whereas small d is the effective depth of a beam. Okay, now you understood the concept here. And this portion, this that is capital D minus small d, there is this small portion, we call it clear cover. Okay, cover basically we are keeping here. Now what is L? L is the capital L is the center to center distance between the support. So here you have one support, another support. So total clear span, if we call it center to center distance, we call it capital L. Now P is the already concentrated forces acting on a beam, that we call it P, and T is the total tension force acting on a beam. So total compressive force we call it capital C, whereas total tension force we call it capital T. And XU is the depth of the neutral axis from the top compression fiber. So XU is the depth of the neutral axis. Neutral axis you understood, right? Where the stress and strain both are zero. That axis we call it neutral axis. So depth of the neutral axis from the top fiber. So top fiber from here to here, that we call it XU. Okay. So depth of the neutral axis from the top compression fiber is the XU. So in the next classes onward, basically we extensively use this type of small nomenclature. So you have to understand, by this nomenclature which one I am referring. Okay. So now this is the main equilibrium part you understood, that is summation of all horizontal forces equal to 0, which gives you C and T. So whatever compression force is acting, same will be the tension force also. Okay. So now we'll derive the C and T value. Now you understood, right? Total compression, and T is a tension, C is a compression force. Okay. Now in the last slide, that strain diagram is now enlarged. Now you can see the strain diagram, whatever I have shown in the last slide, that is the strain diagram, is now enlarged. Here also the stress diagram, the same in last slide, if you see that same diagram is enlarged now, right? We removed the bottom part and left, right, because we are now computing what is the value of C and what is the value of T, means what is the total compressive force and what is the total tension force. Okay, so now how to do that? Now let's first see few figures here. So this is the strain diagram, right? We discussed in the last class also. So this is the extreme strain in a concrete is 0.0035 as per IS code. Similarly, the stress also at the extreme fiber is 0.446 FCK. You understood, right? How we got it 0.446. This value we discussed in the last slide. Now the stress diagram of concrete up to from 0.002 to 0.0035. In this region, the stress is constant. Okay, so from 0 strain to 0.002 at this level, the parabolic shape will be there. So after 0.002, the stress block is constant. Okay, so that's what we understood from the IS code figures. So now you understand. You look into here this diagram. So here we divided this entire area. Basically, our main objective is to find it out what is the net area under this diagram. So from this here to like that. So what is the net area here, that we are supposed to find it out. So once we know the entire area, that will give you the stress, right? So that will give you the total compressive force C. So what is force? Force is stress by area. Sorry, what is force? What is stress? Stress is force by area. That means the stress, if you find it out, so this is a stress diagram, right? So once we know the stress, then the stress multiplied by area will give you the force. Very simple, right? So now we are finding out what is the total area here in the stress block. So to find it out entire stress block, we divided this entire area into three parts. The first part is the constant part, this rectangular part. So this part, we call it C1. So this is C1, you can see. So this is the rectangular part C1, and the CG of this rectangular part is C1, and which is at a distance from the top end fiber is X1. So X1 is the CG distance from the rectangular part. So we divided this entire plane into three parts, right? This is the first part, rectangular part, and the CG of this rectangular part is this point. C1 is acting here, and distance is X1. Now the second part is this part, rectangle, this parabolic part. So this second part, this parabolic part, which is the CG of this parabolic part is C2 here at this point. Okay, C2 is acting, and the distance from the top fiber is X4. Okay, so from top fiber the distance is X4. Now our third figure is this part, this portion. It is removed portion, right? This is our third figure, that is C3 we call it. third area, and the CG of this portion will be acting at this point, and the total distance here is x5. Okay, so x4, x5, x1 you understood. So x2 is the entire CG of this entire area. CG of this entire area is acting here at capital C, that we are finding out. Okay, and this distance is x2. So our main objective will be to find it out what is the C and what is x2 value, and also T value, this total tension value. Okay, and now you understood x1, x2, x3 is the up to this point is the x3, and x4 is the CG of this portion, x4, x5 is CG of this portion, x5, and total depth of neutral axis is xu, right? That's what we discussed in the last slide also. Now this is the different nomenclature, you have to understand it, then we'll go with the derivation of C and T. So now from this triangle, here two triangle is there, right? One is big triangle, another is this below this triangle. Okay, two triangles are there. So now using the similarity between these two triangles, what we can write? We can write this 0.002 by 0.0035, that is based on the triangle properties of triangle you studied in the 7-8 standard, right? Two triangles are there, one is this small triangle, another is this big triangle, right? So now you can write it based on the similarity between these two triangles. You can write it 0.002 by 0.0035, that is 0.002 by 0.0035 equal to height. So what is total height? So 0.002 means this height, right? So this height is how much? So total height is xu. Total height is xu minus this portion will give you this height, right? So from here to here is how much? So here to here is x3. So xu is total minus x3 will give you this height from here to here. This height it will give you. So xu minus x3 is this height by total height. Total height is xu. So total height is this xu equal to this area 0.002, this length by total length 0.0035. So this is based on simply the similarity between two triangle. You get it, this formula. So now from here just simplify it, you will get 4 by 7 or 0.57. Okay, so now from this you just if you compute what is x3, so x3 will be 0.43 into xu. From this expression only you can compute. You do it for yourself, you will get it the same expression. So x3 equal to 0.43 xu. So all we are finding out x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, all x1 to 5 values with respect to xu. So x3 competition is over now. Now we know what is x3 is nothing but 0.43 xu. Now what is x1? So x1 is the CG of this area, right? CG of this triangular area is x1. So CG of this rectangular area, which is at this point, and distance from the top fiber is x1. So x1 is nothing but half of total length, right? Half of this total area, total length here, this side. So this is total is x3, right? So half of x3 will be x1. So x1 is equal to half of x3, which is nothing but this value. Okay, now x1 and x3 is over. Now let's compute x5. So what is x5? So x5 is this portion, right? CG of, so CG of this area. So this shaded area, CG is acting here. So this distance is x5. Okay. So x5 can be calculated what? x3. So x5 will be x3 plus this portion here to here. Okay, so x3 is anyway we know x3 is 0.43 xu plus this portion. So that's what x3 is equal to x5 equal to x3 plus this portion, CG of this parabolic portion. So CG of this parabolic portion is 3 by 4th xu minus x3. So this entire length is how much? So entire length is xu minus x3. Then you will get it this length. So that's 3/4 times we'll get it this portion from here to here is 3/4 times of entire length from here to here. Okay, so from here you will get it what is the value of x5. So if you just simplify this expression, you will get it x5 is 0.86 xu. Okay, so now we computed x1, x3, x5. So these three value we computed. Now we have to compute x2 and x4, these two values. Okay, So now before calculating x2 and x4, let's compute what is C1. C1 is total compressive force in this rectangular block. So in this rectangular block, what is total compressive force? So what is total area first? But let's compute what is the area of this rectangular block. So area is nothing but length into breadth. So what is length? Length is 0.446 FCK by breadth. Breadth is x3. Okay, that's what is written here. So x3 into 0.0046 FCK. Now y multiplied by b? B is the width of the beam. So this is a cross section we are drawing, right? But the total width of the beam is b. So that's why b will be, because this is two dimensional. But in our real beam is three dimensional. So we have the breadth, we have to multiply b. Now it becomes three dimensional, C1. So if you just plug in the values of x3 and you simplify it, you will get C1 equal to this one. C1 is the compressive strength for this rectangular block. Now what is C2? C2 is the compressive force for this rectangular part. Don't rectangular, this parabolic part, this inside part, this part. Okay, that is C2. So C2 will be how much? So this is the parabolic part. So C2 will be, what is the total width? Total is XU minus x3 will be the total width, right? Xu is total minus x3, you will get xu minus x3 is this portion. So this portion into 2/3 of this length. So this is the formula for the parabola, right? 2/3 of base into r, something like that. So the total height is how much? 0.446 FCK. So 2/3 of 0.446 FCK into this into b. B is always breadth we are doing. That will give you C2. So this formula is the area of parabolic region. This is inside this parabolic region. This is a parabolic shape, right? So that's why we just use the area for the parabola, that formula, and we find it out what is C2. C2 is this one. You can do it by yourself by plugging the values of x3 and all and simplify. You will get this expression C2. Now what is C? C is total stress block, right? Total area of this stress block, which is nothing but C1 plus C2. C1 is this rectangular plate and C2 is this portion. So C1 plus C2 will give you total C. So total C is C1 plus C2. You just add C1, C2's value. You will get it 0.36 B XU FCK. So you have to remember this formula very much. Okay. So this formula is very much important. You have to remember. Okay. So total compression force. So total compression force is C is 0.36 B XU FCK. So this formula we have derived from this expression. Okay, that is C. So C computation is over now. Now we have to compute x2 also. X2 we have not calculated yet. So now let's compute what is the value of C3. So C3 is the shaded area. Okay, C3 is the shaded area. This is not under the stress block, but this is outside the stress block. This shaded area is C3. So what is the value of C3? So C3 is simply same formula, parabolic areas. So B into total height. So this height is XU minus X3 into 1/3 of width. Right, half into base into height is the area of triangle. Similarly, 1/3 of base into height is the area for the parabola, outside parabola. Inside parabola is the 2/3 of the base into height. So one is base, another is height. Okay. So just simplify all these things. So C3 you will get it like that. So now we can get x4 by taking the moment of C2 and C3 about the top fiber. So now about the top fiber we are taking a moment. So about the top fiber, if you take a moment, then what will happen? Moment means force into distance, right? So C1 is the force into distance. So C1 is the force distance. So we'll do it C2, right? C2 is this portion. So C2 into distance. Distance is how much? X4, right? That's why it is written. Moment is C2 into X4. So C2 is force is here and distance is X4. This distance is X4. Plus C3. C3 into X5. Distance is X5. So this is the moment we are taking. So moment of individual, this part and this part, equal to C2 plus C3. Both, if you do it together, into CG distance of both. So CG distance of this entire area is how much? Entire rectangular area. So entire rectangular area is C2 plus C3, right? That's what we did. C2 plus C3 is entire area, is the entire force is C2 plus C3 into what is the CG of this rectangle. So CG of this rectangle will be x3 up to this plus half of this rectangular block, right? So half of this rectangular block means how much? So what is this distance? Entire distance is xu minus x3 by 2 will be the half. So that's what. So x3 plus xu minus x3 by 2. So this is the CG distance. So from this expression you find it out what is x4. So x4 comes out to be 0.64 into xu. Similarly, if you take moment of this rectangle and these two rectangle, so this is C1 into CG distance is x1, right? C1 into x1 plus C2 is this area into CG distance is how much? X4, right? X4. C2 into x4. C2 into x4 equal to entire C. So entire C is what? C1 plus C2. So into x2. So x2 is CG of entire stress area. So x2 is what? CG of entire stress block. So C is the entire force. So from this expression, if you just substitute all these value, you will get it. What is x2? So x2 is 0.42 xu. So this value also you have to remember. Okay, so I'll just highlight it. So this value also you have to remember. How we derived, we just seen it. Okay, so these two values. So one is C value is 0.36 B FCK value, this value and this value. So these two value we have to remember because these two formulas we'll be using extensively while designing. So what is x2? X2 is nothing but the CG of this entire area, this CG of this entire stress block, x2, distance from the top fiber, and C is the total compressive force. Okay, now C and x2 is over. Now we have to find, so C and x2, now these two we know. Now we have to find it out what is T. T is total tension force acting at the bottom, right? So that will be what? Area of steel. So entire tension force is taken care by the steel, right? So that's why area of steel into stress at steel. So which is nothing but Fy, right? If you use Fe 415 grade of steel, then Fy is 415. So this is the grade of steel divided by partial safety factor. So partial safety factor for steel is 1.15 as per Indian Standard IS code. We have seen yesterday the assumptions. So, so partial safety factor for concrete is 1.5, whereas partial safety factor for steel is 1.15. So Fy by partial safety factor is the stress into area will give you the total tension force, right? So force is always stress into area. So if you simplify it, you will get 0.87 Fy into AST. So and lever arm is nothing but distance between C is the total tension, total compression force to the total tension force. Okay, tension force. So that is C to T distance, we call it lever arm, which is nothing but D is the total depth of the section minus x2 is this portion. If you do it, then you will get it the middle portion, right? C to T is distance. Okay, so D minus 0.42. So these four equations you have to remember from this derivation. First one is this C. What is the value of C? C is 0.36 B FCK FU. What is X2? X2 is 0.42 XU. And what is T? T is the total tension force, which is nothing but 0.87 Fy AST. And lever arm means distance between C and T, which is nothing but D minus 0.42 XU. Okay, so these are the total formulas will be required for in the next class also for derivation, and then subsequently we will solve the problem. Okay, so I know this lecture is a little bit lengthy because we discussed, from scratch we have derived our equations, all the aspects, and we derived our final calculation. So I will recommend you everyone, please do all the calculations manually in your hand, because here I did not show you all the small calculation part, but you do it entire exercise from scratch and do it in a paper, then the concept will be very clear to you. All the calculations, all the moments and all, everything you do it by hand from basics. Okay, then the entire concept will be clear to you. So this ends our in this lecture. So in the next lecture we'll be deriving few more equations, and then subsequently we will start our singly reinforced beam design. So once we understand this derivation, the next part, singly reinforcement, doubly reinforcement, slab, these are very similar things. Okay, thank you so much.